So I think you all probably know Sister Richins by now. She's done a lot of classes for us, and her group of ladies down in Llano, where she lives, have done a lot of work with the, what is it? Is it the Historical Society there, Kris?
No, the Lionel Museum.
The museum. They've been doing a lot of work putting pictures and interviews with people and stuff. Are you putting them online? Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Or? Okay. So anyway, she's had lots of experience with that. So I know we'll probably learn a whole lot. So go ahead.
All right. If not, you need to say, Kris or Sister Richins, whatever you're comfortable with, I need this question answered, because nothing is worse than to sit through a class and walk away going, gee, that was a total waste of my time. And especially with me, I don't like to do that. So please feel free to ask questions. And this is kind of fun tonight. Last time we did a class on questions to ask. So now this takes it and goes forward. There are a couple of ways to do the interviews. First of all, Zoom. You know, if you have a relative who can't be there for Thanksgiving. I just saw Buffalo, New York is supposed to get up to 8 feet of snow. God. So if they live up there, they're not coming to see you if they already haven't left. And so you could Zoom in and put them on Zoom so they could be part of your Turkey Day, or some people are not able to travel or whatever. But so we're going to talk about that, but Zoom meetings, and you can do the questions there. Just don't forget to record it. Minor details. I noticed Sister Johnson already hit the record button for this. And so you want to record it. And then we'll talk in a little bit about what you do with that, because there's some different choices. Now, if you are going to do it at your home, we have a place set up at the museum that we set up. But in order to do it, the very first thing you do is take your telephone and you put it on airplane mode. And then you go to record, not pictures, but record. And make sure the phone and the person have good lighting, because nothing is worse than not being able to see the person. And what we do is we bought a round lamp that just shows a picture, and it holds your cell phone, and we spent $25 on it. And we show that up on the person doing the interview. It's not very bright, so you're not blinding him. So after an hour and a half, he's not blind from looking at this light for an hour and a half or doing that. And so if you go online to buy it, Amazon is where we bought it. But if you go into a store, don't let them talk you into the one for $10 million. You don't need that light. It's called just a light, a recording light. And they'll want to sell you the one for $10 million. You just need a $20 one. You also, and the reason that it's valuable that to have that ring light, as we call it, is I guarantee you do not want to hold your phone for an hour or an hour and a half. That hand gets, because you're going to put that in the recorder, you can put your phone in the light, and by doing that, then the photo will be on and it'll take their picture. Now, some people don't want their picture. We've got a couple of unreal cowboys out here that don't want their picture. So we take a 5-minute picture at the front and then we lay it down like this so that we're only getting the recording and not their picture. I happen to like their pictures. I want to know who I'm talking to, and especially family. When you do one of Great Uncle Charlie, then you want your kids 5 years from now to know who Great Uncle Charlie was, you know, especially your older ones. You want them to look. I've tried to explain to my kids that their father-in-law, my father-in-law, their grandfather had, his hand was huge. I tried to explain that to the kids and they didn't get it. So that's why it would have been nice to have had the photo. And as we talk, do that. The other thing you don't want to have happen is don't let the person blend with the background. If the person, and we have a lot, when we do the church, you know, all the guys are in white shirts. Well, I don't want a white background. I don't want to put them against the white. I'm gonna use you that's at the Family History Center. That would be good. He's wearing the blue, the white background, picture of Christ in the back. That says a lot about him. But in our room that we have set up to do interviews, we put a rocking chair, we put a fake chimney or fireplace, and some pictures and hats. You know, we made it for that, but we used a lot of colors. So be prepared when you do the interview. Tell them not to wear white. You know, decide where you're going to do the interview and then tell them not to wear whatever color is what you're going to want to do. Because if it all melts in, then you're going, people lose interest and you don't want to do that because they're looking like, oh, look, I can't see, you know, and looking, and then pretty soon you've lost them. When you do the interview, the very first question is give your complete name, your birthday, and who your mom and dad are. First question's out of your mouth. Now, you're going to get people who say, I have nothing to say. And I'm going to help you get through a couple of these and say, that's fine. Will you just come in and tell me your brief history? And why I'm laughing is we have Mr. Bill. I love Mr. Bill. He told us he didn't have anything to say, and he's got a problem with his throat, so he can only talk about a half hour, 45 minutes at a time. That's all he can do. That's all he wants to. So that's always going to come in. He'll do one interview at 45 minutes. We're now on his 5th interview, and the average interview is 2.5 hours. So, and he's got great things to say. We also have a gentleman whose dad owned the ferry that took people across a very small river, but when you live in rural Texas, you need across that river. He's coming in for an interview. We've done, and we're focused about the history of Llano County. So we go back as far as we can. What do you remember about it? And the lady we have doing the interview was born and raised there, and she's 83 years old. So it works well because she'll say, oh, do you remember the old building? And do you remember, and get them going that way. And then she is quiet. How long have you owned the property? Did your mom and dad own the property? You know, and get them to tell us some of the the history in. Now, were you involved? She can pull out, were you involved in the shootout on Main Street? And that's fun. So this is where instead of reading a list of questions like we did before, you kind of listen to what they're saying and let them know what you want. If you want to talk about a party for Aunt Susie, then tell them to think about different things with Aunt Susie. And some of them are going to be nice, and some of them are going to tell you exactly what they think about Aunt Susie. So either way, it's going to be fun. Do each interview separately, but let them know. And that's, we want to know the history of your dad and what you remember about early Kingsland and the ferry and the stories there. We also, and then you build on it. The hardest thing for me, and Joanne, who is the interviewer for the museum, has taught me is I need to, bottom line, shut up. I ask a question and then I need to give them time to answer. If they haven't answered in 15 seconds, I'm ready to go on. And Joanne pointed out that when you are working with people our age, they need just that little bit more time to think about how they're going to answer it. And that is a lot of fun too. So decide what you want. If it's about Christmas, then tell them we want to talk about the different Christmases. And that is always a fun one. Or Turkey Day right now is another fun one, because you can bring up, Grandpa, what was your first Thanksgiving? And let the kids come in and listen. They have to be quiet, but you know what? If their voice gets on, it's even sweeter. But let Grandpa tell about his different Thanksgiving. And, did you always go to the grocery store to get the turkey? Or did you go out and shoot it? And this city girl is learning. A lot of people here in Atlanta went out and shot it, so it's been really fun, and they'll tell you how to pluck it and how to clean it. And somehow steak looks a lot better by the time they're done, but it's fun. And I've learned a lot about the different animals. And it's just through the interviews that are kind of fun. So make sure they talk loud enough. If they're talking low like this, you can't hear. So instead of making them feel uncomfortable, just say, don't say, will you talk louder? Say, I am having trouble hearing you. I'm going to move the recorder or the phone a little closer to you. We've only had to do that once, because once I say, do you have any more energy hiding in there? Can you talk a little louder? And they do. But every once in a while, they'll say, nope, I'm there. Okay, well, I'm going to move this, because it's valuable what they have to tell you. But it's choosing as a family, and it's so much fun. The other thing that you need to look at is, let's see, involve everyone. Ask the little kids what they remember their first Thanksgiving, if that's your thing. Or did you, now here's a picture. That one may get dangerous. Did your mom ever talk about Aunt Susie? That could get dangerous, mainly if mom didn't like Aunt Susie, because the kids have no filter system. So they will tell you exactly what mother said. So I'm a little more careful in choosing kids on that thought process. But this time of the year, it's turkey or Thanksgiving or Christmas. And Christmas is fun because we've all had different Christmases. Did you ever go out and cut your own tree down? Did you ever make your own ornaments, or did you go to did you go to Walmart and buy them? What was it like? Did you have a fake tree? Did you have a real one? What's the favorite gift? And this is where, but feed off of their answers. I remember when Grandma, who died 5 years ago, and I did this. What was Grandma like? Time out. I want to know a little bit more about Grandma. What did you enjoy doing with her? What was her favorite Christmas? Did you always have everything you needed at Christmas? This is where you'll learn to really love them, and let them talk, because you want them relaxed. You want the answers. You're a genealogist. You're a family history center. You're teaching your members how to do the interview. And so have your patrons do the interview. Have them say, let's have fun. You said you were in Elders Quorum. Take a Elders Quorum Sunday and say, let me show you how to do an interview. And then choose a couple of the old guys who don't say a lot in Elders Quorum and have them do the interview. And it's fun. You set up the light, and I would still use my phone. I would do an interview because their families may appreciate that. Don't be afraid. Nothing's off limits. They'll tell you, I don't feel comfortable answering that. Okay. And my comment is, even if I pay you, you won't answer. And they'll laugh and say, oh, we'll talk later. Okay. I said, I see a rumor starting here, so I want to be the one to start it, and enjoy that. They're sweet people. Also, let's see, kids, teenagers. And this is where a lot of us are having trouble in all our wards in getting teenagers involved in family history. At least we are, and this is an excellent way. Have them do the interview. Say, do you want to interview Grandpa Charlie? Do you want to? Well, I don't know him. Then ask them. Do they want to do the interview? It's not always up to us. And that was the smartest thing I did, was delegated the interviews to Joanne, who lived there. And then Christelle just sits in there with the camera in case something goes wrong. But we've left it more than once and just left them going. Always get as much as you can, but have fun. What was the Christmas, Thanksgiving, and have it, if you're at a funeral, have them do that. A wedding's fun too, because then you can do interviews about each of their marriages, and how did you propose? That's always fun. People always giggle and do. But feed off their questions. Don't have in your mind anything set that these are the 5 questions and they have to answer it, other than their name, where they were born, and who their mom and dad. But don't have anything else. This is a wedding. Tell us, is there anything? Tell us about your wedding. Tell us about how you got engaged. And that type. Now we need to talk a little bit about what to do with it when you're done. The bad news is, and I have not heard anything new from Salt Lake, to put it into memories, it's 5 minutes. So you can go ahead and break it down, but a 2.5-hour interview broken down to 5-minute pieces gets old real fast. What we have done is we upload them all to YouTube and make it private. And then only in memories, we put, here is the interview, and put the link to YouTube. And then by marking it private, not everybody can go on and hear who is the son and daughter of, or son and mom, all the information. But everybody else can who needs. You just give them the link. Some of the people we have given the link to outside the family, but it's always with the family's okay that we share that YouTube link. And you can just upload it to YouTube. We do have an account. Christelle said we don't pay for it. So it's a free account. If the little kids, the 5 minutes, but again, you're back to they're alive, and you can put that in memories, because that's the one thing you can put in memories that is not blocked by if you're deceased or living. And so therefore too much information may get out, or it opens a can of worms. So you have to think about that and what's going on. Is this going to harm? Is this going to get a predator in? Is this going to get someone who's looking, that type of affair? And I have to be very honest, because that's what we did a lot. But then what our goal is at now, if you have a home page, if you have done a web page, then you can upload it to your web page and go on with that. So we're going to do that with Christelle. If they have deceased, then we're going to move it from YouTube up to our webpage after the first of the year. We have a new person doing the webpage. And so we're going to let the Lionel Museum, we're going to have a lot of the interviews, and a lot of the interviews the family said let out, but please edit out who their mom and dad was, and their birthday. So we can do that. We can do whatever you want. You can edit that out with no problem. It's not hard. If you have trouble, you can call me and we'll work it. We'll put Christelle on the phone and do that type of an affair. So these are some of the really fun things to do. But on these interviews, it's kind of relaxing. Just, have some fun. No set time. You can do a group interview. It's a little bit harder, but it's your interviews. I can tell you how we did it, but do it. It's yours. Have some fun with it. Try it different ways, but do get the light, or we had tried a spotlight type of affair, or a heavy lamp. That didn't work well. That, the light was $20 off of Amazon. So that's it. What type of questions do you have?
Can I share some ideas?
Yes, please.
You're talking about one of my favorite subjects. These are some things I've done. Back in the 70s, when I'd go home to Florida and visit my grandparents or my parents, I found a lot of times people are uncomfortable when you ask questions, So my family was one of these that liked to tell stories all the time. And I took a tape recorder with me. And every time they'd start telling stories, I'd turn the recorder on. And some of the things like you were mentioning, sometimes, like for instance, my grandmother would talk about where her father would meet them in Salt Lake City on the train, and one time she remembered his beard was covered in ice, and I'd say, "Oh, your dad had a beard?" She'd go, "Oh yeah, he had a beard." And I said, "Was it a short one or a long one?" She'd go, "Oh no, it came way down to here." So when they're telling these stories, you can interject a little bit to get more detail. That way you're not really interrupting their story, but you're showing a little more interest in what they're saying. But anyway, after doing that, I came back and I spent years of that and writing it longhand. I came up with 375 typed pages on my computer from those stories. And I wished, and I think they make this, I can't remember where I saw it. I wish they had a tape recorder that would convert it to text. There's programs on your computer that you can talk to your computer and it will type just by listening to what you're saying. And I one time saw where they make little recorders that will record and it converts it to a text file for a computer. But I can't find them now. And everybody said, well, use your phone, but I don't think that converts it.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it just records it. And the other thing I've done was I started a family newsletter, which I'm real proud of because I publish it every 2 months. And it's 12 pages. And I put all these stories, pictures, clip art, everything in them. And I send them to 50 some people as a PDF file. Then I upload them to Family Search. And I put them under my name, under memories, and under my father's name, because after a couple of years, I realized no one could read them because I'm still alive. so I put them on my father's family under his memory since he's passed away. Anyway, I've been doing that for 9 years, and there's a lot of history and stories in there. The other thing I've already done is I've kept a personal journal since 1963. And I spent a few years going through and typing those into WordPerfect. Now I'm in the process of going back, and I'm up to, from 63, I'm up to 2012, and I'm putting photographs in my journals. And that way, when I'm talking about something, if I have a picture to go with it, it helps make the memories a little more real to people. And when my children were real little and they couldn't read or write, I used to get a spiral notebook and I would say, okay, let's write in your journal. And we'd lay on the bed and they'd tell me what to write. And I would write it just the way they said it. And sometimes they'd want to draw around their fingers, and sometimes they'd want to draw the roller coaster from Six Flags. But I let them do all that. And now that they're older, I gave them those journals when they were little, and it has a lot of meaning to them. And now what I'm doing, my daughter just sent me an early Christmas present. She sent me for Christmas a program on the computer called Storybook. And I think you pay for it.
Right.
And they ask you certain questions and you go in and write your family history. Well, I'm not listening to their questions. And so what I've done is I put a notepad by my computer, and when I'm working on things, I'll go, oh, I remember when my sister and I did this, and I make a little note. Or I remember when we lived on the farm, and I make a little note. Then I go back into that storybook and I'm writing the story, but I'm jotting down my thoughts on the side so I don't forget the stories. But like you're saying, there's a lot of different things that we can do to record our histories. And my daughter sent me this gift because she said, you write everybody else's history, but what about yours?
Mm-hmm.
So now she's made me have to, I'm trying to do my newsletter, I'm trying to do my journals, and now I'm trying to write my story. So
at least you're not bored. May I, before you call your sweetheart, one of you brought up 3 really important things. The beard, by getting a description of the beard, and you were in Salt Lake, you would be able to, or someone else, if they found a box full of pictures, they may be able to tell who he was because you asked that one little question. And so I thought that was valuable. And also a secret on memories, if you put it under you know, and want others to read it, in the upper corner, you just need to put a little box somewhere and it doesn't have to be anything, but claim it as your dad, then they will be able to go to yours, because once you claim someone else in the picture on memories, they'll be able to see it. And although his picture's not there, here is the whole book that, you know, everything you just wrote on your page.
Well,
So
one of the things I tell everybody in my newsletters, when I make it a PDF, of course, I have the original on my computer, but I convert it to a PDF because everybody can use a PDF. And I tell them, I said, if you want these photographs or anything out of there, all you got to do is click on the PDF and you can save those pictures to your own computer.
good.
And I tell people I want them to do that, because if they're my pictures and my house burns down, it's nice to know they're somewhere else. And the more people that have them, the better chance they're preserved.
That's right. And then I will ask my daughter, and I will get back through Sister Johnson on, is there a program that'll take a transcript from your phone and type it out?
Yeah,
So
that'd be
thank you,
nice.
and I'll see what we can do. Do we have other questions?
I was just thinking, you know, when you were talking about let the teenagers do the interview, we're having I don't remember when, January or February, we're having a family history potluck dinner. We did this last year and had people bring recipes from their family, and then we asked several people to tell stories about their family or about their recipe or whatever they wanted to say. But I was thinking, when you said that, that would be a good thing to do. They had a Brother Polito had a thing for the kids, and I never got in there to see what they were doing, but that would be a good thing for the youth to set up an interview and interview them about, like you were saying, what's your favorite Christmas gift you ever got, and you know, things like that, and for the kids to be interested in doing them, or the teenagers.
Right. Also, teenagers, what's your favorite? Then you go into school, you know, what do you do well in school? What subject do you wish would go out the window and never come back? You know, and so it's really fun on that end.
Mm-hmm.
That is a good idea, ma'am. My mind's going 90 miles an hour because I'm stealing your ideas. And the other gentleman whose family, he gave me an idea, and I'm going to talk to my team about both these. So, any other questions? Well, seeing none, I thank you for sharing your evening with me, and I will turn it back over to you, Shirley.